Okay, so the recording is on now. Any more questions on the DSO? What I'll do is that I will create a separate assignment for the DSO report, and I will mention details on that in the group as well. So you can refer to that if you have any confusion when you start writing a report. The deadline will be next Friday, one before Eid, and for the deadline for the lab manual, which I will talk about in a moment, will be Wednesday, like for the first two experiments. Now that we're done with the DSO part, we can talk about lab manual 3. So the lab manual 3 is going to be slightly different from lab manuals 1 and 2. The main reason is that I have tried to make it a little bit more challenging for you than the first two. The first two were too easy to simulate, they were too easy to figure out. Now that you're already familiar with the basics of LT Spice, I'm going to have to uh, expect more from you guys this time around. So, ODL Lab Manual 3 focuses on operational amplifiers, and I am hoping that you guys have already. Do we have an option running a simulation using DSO in LT Spice? Roll number 59, you do not have an option to run simulation using DSO in LT Spice. DSO is something that you will use in your lab when you visit the university in September. Uh, you should keep in mind that circuits is divided in two different parts among semester 2 and semester 3. So semester 1 focuses on circuits 1 and semester 2 focuses on circuits 2, which is also known as circuit analysis and design. So DSO is extensively used in circuit analysis and design, and you will have plenty of time for a hands-on experience on DSOs when you come to the university in September for circuit analysis and design course. Yes, you will keep using it later, and you will keep using it till the end of your studies, and then you will use it in the industry as well. So the DSO has little to nothing to do with ODL Lab Manual 3. That is a separate video that we demonstrated. That video will help you figure out some things when you first start using the DSO. At least I hope that it will. So electric circuits ODL Lab Manual 3 focuses on operational amplifiers. You have already covered the basics of operational amplifiers in your circuit analysis theory by Dr. Khalid, and you're already familiar that it has a plus VCC, it has minus VCC, it has a non-inverting terminal labeled as positive, it has an inverting terminal labeled as negative, and it has an output terminal as well. These are the 5 important terminals associated with an operational amplifier. What we are going to do is in this experiment is that we're going to focus on 3 usages associated with operational amplifiers. The first one is to use it as a voltage follower, and the second one is to use it as an inverting amplifier. The third one is to use it as a non-inverting amplifier. So in this lab, we will be using LT Spice to figure out the voltage follower, the functionality of an op-amp, inverting amplification, and non-inverting amplification. Theoretical background is something that you will read when you dig into the manual. I'm going to focus on what is required from you when you do the simulations in LT Spice. So your laboratory tasks in this experiment will consist of 3 different parts. In the first part, you will patch 2 circuits on the simulator. The one on the right is a voltage divider circuit. You can see that it is energized with a 12-volt source. It has 5 resistances connected with it, 6 kilo ohms, 3 kilo ohms, and then roll number 73. I have noted it, and I will try and make sure that the voice does not lag any further. So Do you guys see the two circuits on the board, 2A and 2B?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So 2B is a voltage divider circuit, and you can see that it is energized with a 12-volt source. And if I apply VDR on this particular circuit, I will see that the voltage across R5 will be 1 volt, R4 will also be 1 volt, R3 will also be 1 volt, R2 will have 3 volts, and R1 will have 6 volts across it. It is a voltage divider which is very easy to figure out. Total resistance is 12 kilo ohms and total voltage is 12 volts. So 1 kilo ohm is going to have 1 volt. That way we have 6 volts, 3 volts, 1 volt, 1 volt, and 1 volt. Now, this will be used to verify the voltage follower functionality of an op-amp. If you look at the circuit 2A, you can see that it is in a voltage follower configuration. We have 12 volts on plus VCC, minus 12 volts in minus VCC, and we are going to attach an input to the non-inverting terminal of the op-amp. The inverting terminal is shorted out with the output. In this arrangement, we call it a non-inverting, call it a voltage follower. This is basically a non-inverting amplifier with a gain of 1. So that is something that you've already studied in the theory. So if I supply 2 volts to the non-inverting terminal, to the positive terminal, I should get 2 volts on the output. If I apply 3 volts, I should get 3 volts on the output. If I apply 5 volts, I should get 5 volts on the output. Can anybody tell me what will happen if I apply 15 volts on the non-inverting terminal of this operational amplifier in this configuration? If I apply 15 volts on the input, what will be the output?
It's gonna be, so it will be 12 volts, plus 12 volts.
Yes, it is going to be plus 12 volts because the output voltage cannot exceed the applied VCC levels. So if I apply 15 volts, it will get saturated and the output will be 12 volts. So you're going to connect in the first phase the point A with the non-inverting terminal of the operational amplifier, and you will write down the output that you will measure. Similarly, when you connect B with the terminal, you will write down the output over here, then C and then D. You will write down the outputs by connecting these terminals individually with the non-inverting terminal of operational amplifier. Currents I1, I2 and I positive are going to be measured. I positive is the input current to operational amplifier. I1 is the current above the point that you have connected, and I2 is the current below the point that you've connected at that particular instant. So when I am using the B terminal, I1 will be current through I3 and I2 will be current through I4. Similarly, when I'm using the C terminal, I1 will be current through R2 and I2 will be current through R3. So above and below the terminal that you have connected with the positive terminal of your operational amplifier will give you I1 and I2. I positive is the input current to the operational amplifier. Can anybody tell me what is the expected value of I positive in all these cases? Okay, so what is the input current to an operational amplifier?
So it's 1 milliamp.
So 0 ampere.
Yes, input current to an operational amplifier is 0 amperes ideally. So I positive should always have a very small value or a 0 value, and I1 and I2 should have equal values because I positive is going to be 0. An operational amplifier does not put any load on your existing circuit. So that is why we use this as a voltage follower. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to have a circuit that has the same output as the input. So the first part of your experiment is that you will be verifying the operational amplifier's functionality as a voltage follower. And you'll fill this table up. In the second part, I'll wait for the picture to update on your end. We have how to find gain of passive devices. So operational amplifier is not a passive device. And you can find gain of passive devices as well by creating or by finding out a transfer function. That's a separate topic, but I'll talk a little bit about it. So say we have a voltage divider circuit, R1 and R2. This is a question from roll number 115. So let's say we have a voltage divider circuit. The input voltage is 5 volts. R1 is 2 ohms and R2 is also 2 ohms. And I'm taking output across R2. So if both of the resistances are equal, the voltage is going to be divided equally. And if my input is 5 volts, my output will be 2.5 volts. So in this case, the gain is 0.2. So whenever you want to find the gain of a passive device, you find out a ratio between the output voltage and the input voltage. And when you have a ratio between the output voltage and the input voltage, the right side of the equation will give you the gain. In this case, the right side is going to have R2 over R1 plus R2. So V output over V input is equal to R2 over R1 plus R2, which is 0.5. So the gain is 0.5 for a circuit divider. So any passive device, any passive circuit, you can find out the gain by dividing the output voltage by input voltage or output current by input current. So that's how you find gain for passive devices. Operational amplifier, however, is slightly different. So we have, coming back to the lab experiment, we have circuit number 3, figure 3, and in this figure we have a inverting amplifier, op-amp being used as an inverting amplifier. When we use it as an inverting amplifier, we ground the positive terminal or the non-inverting terminal, and we supply or apply input to the inverting terminal. We have a feedback resistor 3.3 and we have R1 as 1 kilo ohms. So minus 3.3 by 1, minus 3.3 should be the gain of this inverting amplifier. So for different values of RF in the column, you will have most probably the same value for V input, 1 volts peak to peak at 1 kilohertz. It has been specified over here. 1 volt peak to peak sinusoidal at 1 kilohertz. And you will change the value of RF between 1 kilo ohms to 10 kilo ohms. That is also mentioned in step number 7. And when you change the value of feedback resistor, the value of output will be adjusted accordingly, but it will be proportional to the same gain. It will have a different gain for every value of RF, so the output will be different. So you'll fill this table up for the inverting amplifier configuration in LTSpice, and you will share the results when you submit your lab manual. After that, we have the third and last circuit that we need to perform or verify in this experiment in LTSpice. It is a non-inverting amplifier where you supply input or energize the non-inverting terminal, the positive terminal on the operational amplifier, and you put a voltage divider circuit R1, R2 on the non-inverting terminal and ground it. So the output now has 1 plus RF by R1 as its gain formula, and the same waveform and same changes in RF are going to be applied in this case as well. आप voltage देंगे 1 volts peak to peak at 1 kilohertz. You will vary the feedback resistance between 1 kilohertz and 10 kilohertz again in this configuration, and you'll populate the same table once again for the non-inverting amplifier as well. So this is your ODL Lab Manual 3, and it is your job to figure out the usage of operational amplifiers and AC sources in LT-Spice for this particular task, because if I explain it to you, it becomes an extremely easy job, and we have done that twice already. This time it is going to be a little bit of legwork from your side as well. So you will fill this manual up. I will specify the screenshots. Yes, roll number 186 is asking that in the last two circuits, do we have to keep input voltage constant? Yes, 186, you will keep the input voltage constant, 1 volt peak to peak at a frequency of 1 kilohertz sine wave, and you will not change it. The only thing that you will change is RF, which will change the gain and output of operational amplifier as an inverting amplifier and as a non-inverting amplifier. So if there are any questions related to the manual, I'm available for the next 30 minutes. After that, we will end the session with 2 assignments for you to do in the next 10 days. So I feel like that we don't have any questions. So should I end the session, or do you guys need time to review the manual?
Roll number 115. Ask the question, sir, can gain be 0?
Okay, so roll number 115, can gain be 0? You can make the gain 0 by making the feedback resistance infinite. Roll number 4 is asking, please get the formula of gain. Roll number 4, that is a very silly question, and you can refer to chapter 4. Minus RF by R1 is the formula for inverting gain. Minus RF by R1, RF being the feedback resistance, R1 being the other resistance. And for the non-inverting amplifier, the formula is 1 plus RF by R1, or 1 plus R2 by R1. Okay, I'll wait for other questions. Okay. Can you explain Q1 again? Okay, roll number 16. Am I still sharing the screen? Yes, I am. Let me go back to the first part once again.
Kindly zoom in the Word document little bit so that we
Okay,
can see clearly.
okay.
It's okay now. Thank you.
Okay, so roll number 16, in part 1, we are using the operational amplifier as a voltage follower, which means anything I put at the input terminal should come at the output terminal unchanged, without any change. Na? So why do we apply a voltage follower? Okay, Abdullah, I will answer that as well. Give me a minute. So sometimes there are circuits at which you need to use certain values. For example, say I have a light bulb and that light bulb should come on every time R4 gets 1 volt across it, or R5 gets 1 volt across it. So I need to take the voltage for R5 and apply it to that bulb in my circuit. If I connect the bulb directly in parallel with R5, that bulb will affect the overall resistance of the circuit. That bulb will draw additional current, and that bulb will change the properties of my existing circuit. So in order to avoid that effect and use the voltage across R4 at the same time or R5 at the same time, I use voltage follower. Because when you use a voltage follower, it will give you the same output, but it will not draw any current from the actual circuit. So it does not put any load to the actual circuit. It does not change any property of the actual circuit, and you can still use values from the actual circuit to trigger values in a different circuit. Did I explain it well, or do I need to come up with a different example? Okay, coming back to roll number 16. Roll number 16, the voltage divider, the figure 2b, is there to apply different voltages to the voltage follower circuit in 2a. For example, when I use the wires in LT-Spice and connect point A with point positive, V positive on the voltage follower circuit non-inverting terminal, the output voltage should be 1 volt. And I will record that in the table above. When I disconnect point A and connect point B to the non-inverting terminal, I should have 2 volts on the output, because now the voltage is being measured between B and ground, and there are 2 volts between those 2 points. When I disconnect B and connect C to the non-inverting terminal, I should have 3 volts. And similarly, when I connect D, I should have 6 volts at the output. So these are the values that you'll record, and at the same time, you will record values for I1, I2, and I positive. Let me explain I1, I2, and I positive as well, so that you do not make any mistakes while filling out the table. Whichever terminal you're using, I1 will be the current entering that terminal, and whichever terminal you're using, I2 will be the current leaving that terminal. For example, when I use point A with the non-inverting terminal of my operational amplifier, I1 will be the current through R4 and I2 will be the current through R5. Similarly, when I use the terminal B, I1 will be current through I3 and I2 will be current through R4. When I use terminal C, I1 will be current through R2 and I2 will be current through R3. So that is how you fill up the table. We have some other questions. So the question is, that is fine, but original circuit also doesn't have that much load. Abdullah Sabur, original circuit in this case does not have that much load, but it is not desirable at any cost that if you're using a certain value from a certain circuit, that circuit should not be effective in any way. So in order to minimize the effect or loading, we use operational amplifiers. So I2 plus I positive should be equal to 1. Yes, Abdullah Sabur, I2 plus I positive should be equal to 1, and I positive will be almost always it will be equal to almost 0. So I2 should be equal to I1. You are correct. Abdul Rahman has selected a precision low cost HSBFAT dual op amp. Is there a question associated with it? Okay. You can use any to do that gets the job done. Though you're not designing a circuit, you're just checking the functionality. So you don't have to go into detailed properties. You can use any of these.
Here students are asking this question again and again, why we are using this voltage follower circuit if it gives the same as the output as we have input. So I have made a circuit to explain this thing. If I take the control, may I share the screen?
Yes, sir. Let me stop sharing.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Let's say this example. If we look at this circuit, we have a voltage divider circuit that consists of two resistors in series 3 kilo ohm and 1 kilo ohm. That is dividing this 12 volt into this ratio. We have 9 volt across 3 kilo ohm and 3 volt across is 1 kilo ohm. Because to this LED circuit, let's say this LED circuit, we want to apply 3 volt fixed, neither less nor greater than that. Okay. So as soon as I connect this LED which has a resistance of 1 kilo ohm across these 2 points, what happens? Look here. This 1 kilo ohm now will be in series with in parallel with 1 kilo ohm that was the part of voltage divider circuit. These two parallel 1 kilo ohm over here and 1 kilo ohm of this LED will make total 0.5 kilo ohm. Okay, 500 ohm. Now this voltage divider circuit, its formula will give us that voltage that will be much lesser than the 3 volt. Now this resistance will become about 6 times higher than the total combined resistance. It means before connecting this LED, we were getting 3 volt. As soon as we have inserted a connected LED across these 2 points, voltage has dropped. Why it happened? Because this LED has started drawing current over here in this direction. That current will cause more voltage drop over here. This is one way to explain it. Before the connecting of this LED, there was no contribution or current flowing out of the circuit at this point. So we are getting 3 volt. Now this current will cause additional voltage drop here in this series resistance. Other way to explain, as this 1 kilo ohm resistance in parallel with this 1 kilo ohm resistance will make total 500 ohm. Now if I divide this voltage again between these 2 points and here between these 2 points, this voltage will be 0.5 divided by 3.5 into 12. 3.5 is total 3 and plus this. So that will be, if I use the calculator, the result is 0.5 That is now 1.7. It means this voltage will drop from 3 volts and it will become 1.71 volt. That is the problem with the voltage divider, resistive voltage divider circuit. Now to solve this situation, this problem, what we do is between this LED and our voltage divider circuit, we insert voltage follower circuit with the help of that we have implemented with the help of operational amplifier. So if I remove this connection here and add the voltage follower circuit, that will be like this. Now this voltage follower circuit, this one will not allow this voltage 3 volt to change because it is not drawing any current in this direction. This current is 0 ampere ideally or very small in micro ampere. Okay. So due to this reason, before connecting this LED and after connecting this LED, the voltage between these 2 points here and here will remain 3 volts. This was a simple example to explain this concept why we are using this voltage follower circuit in our electronic circuits, okay? Just to avoid the loading of this voltage divider circuit. In order to light up this LED, this current is required. From where this current is coming? So here this VCC is providing that power. It is just sensing the voltage from its input and providing power from this supply to the output. It means is not loading the Does it need further explanation? Okay, Abdullah Sabur asked this, if we change the resistor from 3.3K to 1.3, it means before the connection of circuit, voltage will not be 3 over there. Is it so? It means we have we have incorporated our load resistance, or you can say LED resistance, in the design process. If our design is so simple that we know what will be the value of load, it is okay. But if we don't know what we are going to connect at the output of this voltage follower circuit, then we cannot incorporate this thing, this this resistance of the load in our voltage divider circuit. Okay, that is an issue. Because we don't know every time that what we are going to connect at the output of this voltage divider circuit. If we know this thing, then we can add the resistance of that output into our design procedure. Otherwise, in that situation, no need to use operational amplifier at all. Okay, that will save the cost. We can make our circuit simpler. But if we don't know what will be the device that we are going to connect at the voltage divider circuit, then this is the procedure. That now you can have control.
I hope that answers the question in very good detail.
Actually, the paper pencil was required. I had this facility on my end.
Okay, class, 10 more minutes for any questions that you may have for your assignments.
Sir Umar, kindly share your screen so that you can answer Abdullah Sabur.
Okay, so Abdullah Sabur is asking about the 1 kilohertz sinusoidal voltage. So Abdullah Sabur, this is something that you will have to look up, and I can give you a keyword. You should type in AC analysis in LT Spice. It will guide you about how to write down an equation for a voltage source in the software on the simulator. Plenty of tutorials and demonstrations available to do that. So I mentioned initially in this session as well that this lab is going to be a little bit more legwork for you guys. And if I explain everything in the initial session, it becomes a 30-minute job for you people to fill in the manual. I want you to spend more time on it. So that is why. Okay, so Abdullah, 1 kilohertz has an associated time period of 1 millisecond. So you should keep your time to 1 millisecond. 1 millisecond is going to be enough. Or you can use 5 millisecond or 10 millisecond. Anything more than 1 millisecond is okay.
Roll number 73 has asked the question, sir, please again repeat the answer, changing 1 kilo ohm resistance. 1.5 kilo ohm resistance. Actually, Abdullah Sabur has asked this question, if we replace that 3 kilo ohm resistance with 1.5 kilo ohm, after connecting LED in parallel with 1 kilo ohm resistance, our circuit will behave according to our design, means we get 3 volt across LED. I said yes, it is okay. Because we already know the resistance of load that we are going to connect at that voltage divider circuit. We have incorporated that load resistance, or you can say the LED resistance, into our calculation and calculated or determine the voltage division ratio of the resistance according to that. But if we don't know what will be the resistance of LED that we are going to connect at that voltage divider circuit, then we cannot accommodate that resistance to our calculation. We don't know whether the LED resistance will be 1 kilo ohm, 0.5 kilo ohm, 1.5 kilo ohm, or 3 kilo ohm, whatever is that. So due to this reason, if we know the value of load that we are going to connect at the voltage divider circuit, we can accommodate that resistance into our voltage division calculation design procedure. Okay, but if we don't know, then we will have to use this voltage follower circuit, so that anything that we are going to connect at the output of voltage follower, its behavior will remain same. Okay, so it means scenario to scenario it will differ. If we know the resistance of LED or whatever we are going to connect at the voltage divider circuit, then we can use or include that resistance to our calculation. No need to use voltage follower circuit. But in generic case, if we don't know the value, then we will have to do this voltage division according to this procedure. We will have to use a voltage follower circuit. I hope I had explained it. It all depends upon whether we know the value of resistance that we are going to connect at the output or not. Umar, I think students don't have questions regarding this manual.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I think we can end the session, and please explain 10th point of the lab tasks. Okay. Rule number 4, it means that the voltage source that you're going to connect in your second and third circuits is not going to be a DC voltage source. It is going to be an AC voltage source with a peak to peak value of 1 volt and a frequency of 1 kilohertz. So you will have to dig into some detail about AC analysis in LTSpice in order to figure out how to apply this particular voltage on circuits 2 and 3. If you can see my screen, in figure 4, Vin sorry, Vin should have a value of 1 volt peak to peak at a frequency of 1 kilohertz. So that is what point 10 is about. Okay, so Bilal, I think we don't have any more questions at this point in time, and we can end the meeting. If anybody has any other questions that pop up in their minds after the meeting has ended, you can always leave a comment in the thread on MS Teams, and we will get back to you as soon as possible.
Okay, here I end the recording. I have already recorded their attendance.